Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I am streaming to you live from beautiful Budapest here, situated on the Danube River in Central Europe. I hope everybody is having a great week so far. In today's lesson, we will focus on speaking part 2, also called the long part. It's the cue card question, okay? Speaking has 3 parts. Part 1, just some questions on some general topics. Takes about 3, 4, 5 minutes. Then comes part 2, where you get a little card with some questions. You have 1 minute to think about answers, and then you have 2 minutes to speak. You have to practice this part. This is a members chat class, and we have some members joining in. Hi, Danish. Hi, Shang Hung. Good to see you both. To become a member, click the join button. Beside the subscribe button, you can see 4 levels of membership. Carefully look at the advantages of each level before you decide which one to choose. Of course, the higher the level, the more you pay, the better the deal. Simple concept. Materials come from our websites, aehelp.com for academic IELTS, and for the general version of the exam, do check us out at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. While we wait for some more members, Danish and Shanghung, to join in, I'll show the viewers those websites quickly. This is the general version of the website here. You can join by clicking the red button. This is different from YouTube. You can get access to our full interactive course with strategies, 6 original practice exams, and over 100 hours of video lessons. We also have, of course, the website for the academic, which is with the blue background. We separate academic and general because these are really 2 different exams. Listening, speaking, they work the same in both exams, but the reason students take one or the other is very different, and the writing and reading sections of the 2 exams are quite different. So you really need to pay attention to that, and we separate those out so you don't have to worry too much about getting confused. Hi, Amarjeet. Good to see you join in on the class. Nice and early. You can download our app for the academic IELTS. It's Academic IELTS Help in your Google Play or Apple App Store. We will be releasing the general version of this app later this year, so keep an eye out for that. If you have questions, members, of course, remember you can make recommendations for classes. Send me an email, Adrian, A-D-R-I-A-N, at aehelp.com. Danish, thank you for the feedback about the reading strategies on the website. That's great. I'm happy that you're practicing them. Danish, of course, I can give you the most amazing strategies from psychology of learning, but the key is to practice those. So I'm really happy that you're using that part of the course. Good for you. Okay, they're some of the most modern and advanced techniques in improving reading fluency and comprehension. So good for you for using that. All right, students. So again, speaking part 2 is coming up right now. And then we will have a class for everyone where everybody can chat. That will be listening sections 1 and 2. All right, students, here is the cue card for part 2 of the speaking. It's kind of a long cue card, and sometimes students get used to these very short questions on the cue cards, and sometimes they're quite a bit longer. I believe this is from a former exam. So let's take a look at the card. Of course, in your 1 minute, your step number 1 is really carefully read the card, especially when you see so much information on this card, okay? So let's go from the top. There are memorable events in life that have a big influence on an individual's future. Such events include school graduation, marriage, birthday, or a special day of unexpected circumstance. Unexpected circumstance means a surprise situation, okay? So don't get confused by these kinds of words. It's a surprise situation, okay? And then the card continues with, you should say, what event changed your life? When did this event take place? Where did the event take place? How did this event change your life, and what did you learn from it? You will have 1 to 2 minutes to talk about this topic. You will have 1 minute to prepare what you are going to say. You can make notes if you wish. So, interesting question, provocative. It's easy to get excited about the answer. Remember, members, just stay calm. Focus on giving a clear, complete answer that is for the purpose of getting a high band score. On the IELTS, that is your number one goal. Your number one goal is not to amaze the examiner. It's not to tell the truth. It's not to use fancy vocabulary. Your number one goal on the exam is to get a high band score. Okay? Then you can go on in your life and in university and amaze people with your ideas and truths, but the IELTS exam is not the place to do it. So on the exam, your goal is to get high bands. So we read the question. What do we do next? Hi Amar, hi Ferdov, Zainab, Preeti, Kamlesh. Good to see more members joining in. Welcome. So what do we do next? We've read the question carefully. What's our step number 2? So after carefully reading the question, what's our step number 2? What do we do? Identify the question. The question type. Amar, I think that's what you're referring to as identify the question type. So sure, what are we talking about here? Question type. Okay, so identify the question type. Okay, good. So Amar Wadi says, yeah, just realize, and Ferdov says the same thing, that it has to be an event. Okay. So it has to be an event. An event means that you have to talk about its location, its time, the people present, the attendees, right? Activities, what happened, okay? And its significance, its importance. Okay, so location, time, attendees, activities, and its importance. Importance, another way to think about that is your experience or your the impact on your life. Okay, all right, good. Now, what should we do next? So we identified that this is an event. It says memorable events that have a big influence on an individual's future. So a life-changing event. Okay? So Shang Hung says, think about 3 to 4 and choose the easiest one. Choose one that is unique. Okay, so here with this question, always use your critical thinking in the exam. So use what you have available to you, what you see, and process it with your mind. Here, I don't need to waste a lot of time trying to think about a special event in my life, and I shouldn't. Okay? So I shouldn't waste a lot of time because look here, it gives me some help. So it says such events include school graduation, marriage, birthday, or a special day of unexpected circumstance. So you might be thinking, well, maybe like an accident, like a negative situation, like a car accident or falling off of a balcony or something like that as well. Okay? Or you might even be thinking of a religious. So you might think, oh, okay, special day of unexpected circumstance, maybe something like an accident or something religious like being baptized or doing the Hajj in Mecca, visiting the Kaaba stone, something like that, depending on your religion. So you might be thinking religious or a terrible accident, bad accident. So you might be thinking these ideas as well. Should you talk about those? So should you talk about a religious event that you experienced, a spiritual event? Should you talk about a bad accident, even if it's the truth, like you really had a very religious experience or you had a very bad accident? Should you choose that in the IELTS in the 2 minutes to discuss? Amar says no. Let's see what some of the other members respond to that. So, again, my goal here, members, is to really train your thinking for choosing the best possible response quickly to get that high band score. Amarjit says maybe. Preeti says talk about breaking up with someone like your girlfriend or boyfriend or divorcing maybe your husband or your wife. Okay, I wouldn't do that. All right. So in this case, this is my strategy and my suggestion to you. Okay. Okay. Do not give or do not choose a topic that's so unique that it has a lot of difficult vocabulary and description. Religious events often have a lot of very unique vocabulary to clearly describe it in English. And you're thinking, well, maybe you're going to use some words out of your own language, like Kaaba stone and hedge. But believe it or not, those can be defined in English as well. So hedge is basically visiting a spiritual landmark where a piece of stone from the house of God is believed to have fallen on earth and found by Moses. Now, if you think that you can describe that at that level, great, you have a band 9. But if you can't, then don't do it. Okay? Because you will just get into trouble and it will be unclear and your band mark or your score will go down. So I don't recommend doing that. Same thing with an accident. As soon as you get into a tragic situation describing an accident where potentially you might say that I was walking across the road when suddenly a car came out of nowhere, hit me, and it broke my femur, which is the bone in your leg, the big bone, you're going to get into some unique medical terminology describing the hospital, the scenario can get really tricky. So it's not a good idea. All right? It's not your best option. When you have these here, graduation, marriage, birthday, these are unique. because each of these are unique to the individual. So your graduation and talking about your graduation will be different than other students. Talking about marriage, your marriage will be different than other students. So each of these are unique. You don't need to waste time to try to think of your own original answer. I don't recommend it unless you're a native speaker or you're equal to a native speaker and you're extremely confident that you can talk about a unique situation. Okay? Danish says, I think the IELTS needs a high level of sentence structure and vocabulary regardless of the idea or event. And Danish, you're right. And so you are supporting the same idea that I'm saying. Creating complex sentences talking about your graduation, marriage, or birthday, and using specific vocabulary for graduation, like I graduated with a master's in electrical engineering, that's a little bit easier, and we talk about it more frequently than talking about religious experiences in English. So exactly that, Danish. It's easier to create complex sentences with good vocabulary for these topics than arguably for these topics. Okay, I hope that's clear. So choose one of these. So for today, let's use graduation. Okay, I think graduation is a very common experience that most of us have had, some of us from high school, others from university, but I believe that we can all find the same concept here. So choice is graduation. Okay, so we're going to talk about our graduation. Now, before we write down a few notes, I know that many of you watch many different lessons on YouTube for the IELTS preparation, and that's good. You should broaden your scope, learn as many different strategies from different teachers as you can. I encourage you to do that and try them when you're getting ready for the exam and use the ones that work for you. Okay? Now, why am I saying this? So I know that some other channels and some other teachers talk about a strategy called PPF. Okay? So a common strategy suggested by some teachers is PPF. Anybody know what that means? So what the teachers are suggesting that you do with the PPF? Have you heard about this strategy, this PPF strategy? Can you tell me what it is? So Ferdov says past, present, future, and Harminder agrees. And Ferdovs and Harminder, you're both absolutely correct. So it means past, present, future. Okay. That means that discuss the answers or the topic of part 2 as past events, present event, and future events. Okay? All right. So, a good question, members, from me at this point would be like, really? Does that work? What do you think? Let me ask you. So is this a good idea? So is it a good idea to look at the cue card, this cue card here, and think about this as, okay, I'm going to talk about the past, present, and future. So is it a good idea to apply this strategy to this part 2? Is it a good idea? Ferdov says it works sometimes. For Dobbs, that is the correct answer. You get my super giant double thumbs up. Yeah, that is the correct answer. So Ferdov says it works sometimes. And I think what Ferdovs is explaining to us here, what he's revealing, is that you have to be very careful. For some questions, it is definitely a good strategy for some questions. For some questions, it is a very bad strategy, so you have to be very careful, okay? If the question is asking, talk about your future plans, where you see yourself in 5 years, that question is asking you about the future. If you start talking about the past and the present, your mark will go down, okay? You might be asked to talk about a person who you know that is very successful. There you want to talk about the person in the present and how they're successful and maybe a little bit of the past, but you have to be very careful, okay? Pay attention to the question. So let me give you a note about this and so it'll be clear, okay? So this strategy may be effective for some questions, but for others it can be very counterintuitive. Okay, what that means is you will go off topic. Wow, how did I write that? Okay, it means counterintuitive means against what logic tells you, so not logical. Okay, counterintuitive means illogical. Okay, illogical means not logical. So the trick is pay careful attention to the question. Okay, and what time it's actually asking about. So here, the question says, talk about a memorable event that had a big influence on your life, okay? Now, if we think clearly about this, it makes sense that, okay, an event happened in the past that had a big influence on my life now, and it impacted the way that I perceive my future or the way that I see my future. So the event happened in the past, it impacts my life now, and it has an impact on my future goals. Okay, so it makes sense to do a past, present, future kind of concept for this one. All right, and I'm really happy to see that many students understand this. Okay, that's great. All right, so we chose graduation, and you have to be, of course, again, quick here and take down some notes. All right, so give me some ideas for notes, members. So what would be some good concepts to jot down quickly on the piece of paper to help me be fluent, to keep talking, to present different ideas, to give details? When you're thinking about your notes, that's what you should think about. That's what you should practice at home, okay? So notes should help you be fluent, complex, detailed, and provide various information. Okay? Notes help you get out of repetition, being stuck for ideas. Okay? And aid in painting a clear picture for the listener or the audience. Okay? So, again, what should I write in my notes? Okay. Ferdov says it was memorable because you don't need that in your notes, Ferdovs. That's something that you automatically can use. You actually need what's missing, Ferdovs. So why was it memorable? Okay. Dana says participated in curriculum activities, but that doesn't really help much. Amara, that's a little bit better. So faculty of law, sure. When you're doing notes, you don't have to pay too much attention to capitalism or capitalizing. 10 years ago, I would be more specific, like sure. Okay. Ferdov says bachelor's degree, sure. Bachelor of Science in Political Science, sure. Zainab says university's name. Yeah, Zainab, give me a university's name. So instead of just thinking about it, let's say King Abdul Aziz University. I believe you're from Saudi Arabia, Zainab, so that's why I'm choosing one that's a well-known university in Saudi Arabia. Kamlesh says with distinction, sure. Okay. Sure. Now, those are some good details. So, but you want to, so Kamlesh, that's a good detail. You don't need past with distinction. You can just say with distinction. By the way, learn these abbreviations, students, if you're going to use them, like W/ is with. Okay. Okay, Shanghung says maybe a professor that left an impact. Okay, so Professor Smith, sure. Okay. Okay, Yvonne says Technical State University, sure. All right, students, now when you're taking your notes, and this is really important, okay? When you're taking, and this happens, I see this often happen with students. So when you are taking your notes, remember the card, questions, and topic. So you only have 1 minute, so you don't have enough time to write 50 of these. You have maybe enough time to write 15 of these, 1-5. So you have to choose wisely what you write down. So what should I write now? Thinking about the card, okay? And hey, if you get lost while you're taking your notes, 1 minute, if you're calm, it's a lot of time. So you can go back, look at the card. So what event changed your life? Okay, graduation. When did it happen? 10 years ago, July something. Where did the event take place? Okay, so think about the questions. So where did it take place? We said King Abdulaziz University. Sure. Where in King Abdulaziz University did the graduation take place? How did this event change your life? What did you learn from it? This is your main question. This is the one that you want to talk about for 1 minute. Okay, these are short. This is like 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds. This is the long one here. Okay, that's what you need to really consider. All right. So give me some notes that help you to answer this question and this question. Okay, so the last two, especially this one. Okay. All right, so Ferdov says ceremony hall. Sure. Okay, give me some more. Students, give me some more ideas. Amar says PhD in law. Sure, we already got that. So I put BSc in political science. We can change that for a PhD in law. Sure. Okay. That's the degree that you earn. But we want to focus on those last two questions. So the one especially that you need to talk about for at least 1 minute. So let me help you a little bit. Visualize, okay? See yourself graduating, okay? What happens when you graduate university? Okay? It's changing your life, Preeti, not the life of your parents. So see yourself, okay? What's happening before you graduate? What's happening after you graduate? Okay? So visualize. What is happening before you graduate? What happens after? See it. Okay, obviously that's not a part of the notes. Okay, there we go. So Kamlesh says, got a job with a high salary. Okay, started work. And now is when you can start. So this is all, so far, what we have here is mostly the past, right? So this is all of the past. So this is where you're using the verb plus ed, or maybe you're using some past perfect, right? Like had been, okay? And now is where you start to get into the present, okay? So even in your notes, you should remind yourself here of the complex grammar that you can include, like have been working as, have made much money, okay? All right? That's what you need to do, all right? Dana says, got placed in a reputed company. That would be a working at a famous law firm. Okay, those are called law firms. Okay. Sure, so that's what you should be visualizing. All right, now, maybe here we can do a little bit more about the future, right? So you're a lawyer, okay, as per our notes, what we've done here, and according to most or many of your suggestions. So we're a lawyer here. We worked hard. We graduated. Graduation was the big life-changing event. Since graduation, we've been working at a famous law firm. We're making lots of money. We have been working as a lawyer, okay? And you're maybe making this up. It's okay to be imaginative in the exam. Some students might actually find it really hard to answer truthfully for this question, so you need to be creative. What might you do in the future? Okay. So let's say you're working as a defense lawyer. Help you out a little bit here. Okay. Or we could go the other way and say, anybody know what the opposite of a defense lawyer is? Yeah, Amar, maybe you're working abroad as well. I mean, careful, don't go off into too many directions. It's possible, though. So you've been working as a defense lawyer. The opposite, by the way, if you want to talk about it, is a prosecutor. Okay. Teaching you some vocabulary here as well. So what are you going to do in the future? You're working as a lawyer. So Ferdov says maybe get promoted. Shang Hung says the opposite of a defense lawyer is a prosecutor. That's good. So all right, so we have lots of notes here. Now, obviously, in the 1 minute, you probably won't have enough time for all of this. I've written a few extra words just so it's clear for everyone, my train of thought, so the way that I'm thinking about this. So, Faculty of Law, 10 years ago, July 12, 2009, PhD in Law, King Abdulaziz University. If I'm actually doing these notes, they would look more like this. Okay. So in the real exam, my notes would be like this. You'll see how concise, the word is concise. It means use the minimum amount of words necessary to have clarity and quality in my information. Okay, I'm getting rid of all the extra words. Okay, so that you should be able to do in 1 minute. Okay, so if you have good visualization, you're thinking quickly, you're thinking about your graduation. Now, of course, here we're working together, so we're deciding on this one concept of graduating from law school, but when you're doing this, you will come up with your own idea that's close to home, that's close to what you are doing, and it will work just as well. Okay, it's a little bit trickier here because this might be when you're like, oh, I'm not a law student, I'm a linguistics student, or I'm a business student, but whatever, you get the idea, right? So here are my notes that I can do in 1 minute. Faculty of Law, July 12, 2009, PhD, King Abdulaziz University with distinction, Ceremony Hall, have been a defense lawyer, much money, working at Al-Zahrani Brothers, famous law firm, will get a promotion, will defend innocent people. So I have all my past, present, future, and I answer all of the questions. And this amount of information, I should be able to get onto the note paper in the 1 minute. Okay. So now I have one more step before my 1 minute is up, which is to come up with my first sentence, right? So write your first sentence, students. And again, it's sometimes wise to look back quickly, especially at the topic, this part of the card, as you come up for the first sentence or come up with the first sentence for your part 2 response. So there are memorable events in life that have a big influence on an individual's future. Such events include school graduation, marriage, birthday, or a special day of unexpected circumstance. Give me your first sentence. Okay? Give me your first sentence. Your first sentence should always be a response to the topic sentence of the card, a very clear response to the topic sentence of the card. Okay? Okay, keep that in mind. So Aman says, I have celebrated several awesome events in my life. No, Aman, I'm not talking about several awesome events in your life. In fact, I'm talking specifically about one event. So Aman, don't start with this. I'm going to explain that I've had a lot of life-changing events, because your examiners will go, oh boy, here we go again. Another student starting with the thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I've had lots of amazing events in my life. Don't do that, Aman. Too many students do it. It's off topic. Okay? I just want to save your band scores, Aman. That's my goal here. Amar says, I worked really hard to achieve my goal. Amar, that's going to be like your second or third sentence maybe, but not your first sentence. Okay, Danish says, the most memorable moment, which is close to my heart, is my completion of bachelor's degree with Faculty of Law in the year 2017. Okay, Danish, not bad. You're close. Close to my heart means that it's special for you. But here, the key, the heart of the question is a life-changing event. Okay, Sheng Hung says, the most impressive event that changed my life was my graduation from the Faculty of Law in July 12, 2009, or on July 12, 2009. Sheng Hung, that is your band 9 sentence, except instead of and, use the word that. So the most impressive event that changed my life was my graduation from the Faculty of Law on July 12, 2009. That's what you want to respond. When you say that to the examiner, then the examiner goes, aha, okay, the student read the question carefully, and they're answering exactly what they should on topic. Great, let's hear what you have to say. Okay. Preeti says, the memorable event in my life that changed me forever was when I completed my master's in gynecology nursing in 2016 from renowned Gitanjali University. Okay, Preeti, so you're giving your own version of this. That's fine. And yes, that's the right idea. Okay. Ferdovs says, one of the most unforgettable, we usually Ferdovs say most unforgettable. One of the most unforgettable events, it's one of many, Ferdovs, always. So the noun is always a plural when you use one of. It's one of many. That's for all students. So the noun is plural, one of plural, okay? One of the most unforgettable events, which has greatly influenced my life or my future, was in July 12th, 2009, graduating from the University of Law, from Law University. Yeah. Okay. A couple of corrections there for Dobbs. Amarjeet says, my bachelor's degree in agriculture has had a major impact on my life, which I completed 2 years ago, and it changed my life. Okay, Amarjeet, it's not your graduation degree that changed your life, but your graduation from university that has changed your life. Okay, so careful there. Okay. Kamlesh, the most memorable, not rememberable, but the most memorable moment that is crucial in my life is my graduation, not completion of graduation, but graduation. Graduation is completion. Danish says, the most memorable moment which has changed my life is completing my bachelor's degree in the Faculty of Law in 2017. Okay, Danish, that's perfect. Just watch your spelling, all right? So one of the most life-changing events that I have ever experienced was graduating with a PhD from the Faculty of Law in 2009, July 16th. Okay, sure. So that's my first sentence. Okay, so as soon as the examiner says, okay, Adrian, your 1 minute preparation time is up, please begin speaking, then right away I will say, one of the most life-changing events that I have ever experienced was graduating with a PhD from the Faculty of Law in 2009, July 16th. Okay, now this is speaking, students, so make sure you repeat after me. Okay, what's the next sentence? How can I continue here? So use your notes. Okay. I've used Faculty of Law, check. I used July 12th, check. I got my PhD, check. So I'm moving through my notes nicely. Okay. And it's good to look at your notes. All right. Zainab says, I will never forget that feeling after I graduated from Abdulaziz University on July 12, 2009, which has had a major impact on my life. Students, for this one, you really have to pay attention to using the past perfect and the past tense. Amarjeet says the location, so talk about where it took place, right, Amarjeet? So give me some sentences, students. The graduation ceremony was held in the main hall of King Abdul Aziz University. With about 400 graduates and another 3,000 family members and friends. Sure. Okay, so some nice description there. Okay, so now I've mentioned King Abdul Aziz University, and I'm using some nice past tense. Okay. All right. So King Abdul Aziz University. Sure. Boom. Got it. All right. So now I move on to my next note with distinction. Okay. Here we go. I had been working extremely hard for the 6 years leading up to this moment in my life, and it paid off as I finished with not only a PhD, but also with distinction and an honorable mention. Okay. Now you can put a little bit of emotion in there. So I was so thrilled when I was awarded my diploma that I broke into tears. And it took a few minutes to gather myself emotionally. Okay? how am I doing that? So how am I suddenly writing a sentence like this? Okay, so how am I, members, how do you think I'm doing this? So how am I suddenly going from I had been working extremely hard for the 6 years leading up to this moment in my life, and it paid off as I finished with not only a PhD, but also with distinction and an honorable mention. I was so thrilled when I was awarded my diploma that I broke into tears, and it took me a few minutes to gather myself emotionally. So yeah, there you go. So Ferdow's is saying through visualization, and Kamlesh says your thinking is too fast. Kamlesh, I wasn't born that way. I practice just like you are practicing. And Ferdow's is right. I'm actually visualizing. So I see myself at King Abdul Aziz University. I see myself getting this diploma, and I see this honorable mention and this distinction. It actually makes me feel emotional, and I can see myself crying. So I'm visualizing. You're absolutely right, Ferdow's. Monal, welcome to the club. Thank you for joining. Make sure to send me an email about your membership level. Okay. Zainab, yes, you got it. I'm visualizing. Absolutely. Okay, so students, so far so good. Okay. So far I am at this point with distinction. I've mentioned the main hall. I didn't repeat ceremony because I said the ceremony was held in the main hall. Okay, so I have it until here. So I have everything that is the past. Okay. Now, for homework, what I would like you to do is create and finish the rest of this response for this part 2 with the present or present perfect and the future. Okay? Send your responses to me by email in MP3, and I'll let you know if you're on the right track or not, okay? So I have about another minute, maybe a little bit more to talk, so I can definitely say about another 10 sentences, maybe a little bit more, 15. And talking about defense lawyer, how much money I make, hint, hint, maybe include some quantitative language. Working at a law firm, comfy job, and so on. So this is your homework to complete this and this element of this part 2 response. Is that clear? Is the homework assignment clear? What I'm giving you, or the challenge, is that clear? What I'm asking you to do? I could give it to you, I can write it, and I will put a sample response in the community board later in the week. I want to wait for your answers first, okay? So I'll give you a sample response later in the week for this part 2, and certainly you can practice saying it, but I want you to try it on your own first, okay? My goal, as you know, members, students, is to teach you how to fish, not just give you the fish, right? Because as the saying goes, if I give you a fish today, you will not be hungry today. But if I teach you how to fish, you will never be hungry. So learn to fish. That is the goal. All right, students, you've done a great job. Members, I'm very, very pleased with your effort. And I can definitely see your improvements. Danish, I think you've really come a long way. So your participation, your frequent participation, your frequent commenting, I'm sure you're doing quite a bit of study at home. And I can see it, Danish. So I can see it in your sentences, and I can see it in your ideas. So good for you, okay? Good job, Danish. All right, everybody's improving. I definitely like to highlight when I see certain students really make improvements where it's very clear for me. Okay, keep it up, everyone. And remember to visit us at aehelp.com for academic IELTS help, GIELTShelp.com for general. Join our premium courses there and get our app, Academic IELTS Help, from your app store. Use those and they will help you. All right, everyone, coming up in 30 minutes, listening practice for listening section 1 and 2. That's an everybody chat class, so everybody will be able to join in on the chat. Hopefully, I will see most of you then. Bye for now.